Hey guys, we are live now. This is the GP Roundtable discussion for July on from MS Dynamics World, and we are joined. I'm Jason Gumpert, and we're joined today by from left to right, Belinda Allen in Belinda in New York City,
Yep. Hi, everyone.
and Mark Polino. Mark, where are you these days?
I'm in Charlotte today.
Excellent. If we get lucky, we will have a couple of other guests joining us. We hopefully will get Jared Hall from Microsoft and Mariano Gomez. We've been kind of stifled by some technical connection kind of issues here, but we're going to do our best to get them on, if at all possible. Hey guys, I just wanted to start with something that was on my mind, a little bit GP related, a little bit sort of following the news related, and that's feed readers. I was a Google Reader user to follow blogs, to follow news. With that gone, I'm trying other tools. I'm testing things out. I'm curious. I know you guys both stay on top of things. What are you using these days to figure out what's going on?
Saw you, Mark.
I was a big Google Reader user too, so I've tried a couple. I've kind of settled on Feedly on the iPad, mainly because they have their own API, so more and more readers are hooking into that.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I decide I don't like their interface down the road, I can still keep my feeds and switch to another reader at that point. So that's
How's it working out for you?
good so far.
Yeah.
So I tend to use that and then combine that with Pocket so that when I find an article I want to save, I'll save it off to Pocket, and then from there I can add them to the blog.
Yep. I've been experimenting with the old reader,
Okay.
which has been working out pretty well for me. I have, I think they've been making some good progress. I know it's a real small team developing it, and they've kind of been racing to keep adding features and adding performance, and performance seems to be one of their big problems right now. And just it's not as rich as Google Reader used to be because it was so well developed, and I'm sure they had a lot more computing power behind it. So that's what I've been doing, and it's working okay. What I like is that you can just use it in the browser and on a mobile device, and it's a responsive design, so it shows you fairly well what's going on. I think hopefully they'll keep making progress, and I'm probably going to start testing Feedly as well, just to see what else is out there.
I use Feedler on
Hey,
the
Jared.
iPad too. Hey, Jared.
Jared, can you hear us? I don't think he can hear us.
I think he's frozen.
Oh yeah,
He looks like he's
I
frozen.
think it's something about the Fargo campus. We had this problem last time.
Yep. Oh, there he comes again.
We're cloning Jared.
A man of many faces and Google profiles. Jared, can you hear us? Oh,
We can't hear you.
We cannot hear you.
But you look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he's having fun.
And you're not green this time. That's awesome.
Yes.
It took me a while to get it not green. I'm not sure why it keeps coming up that way.
Oh, excellent. Well, welcome.
Thanks.
Our last challenge is Mariano, but Jared, welcome. How are things going?
Not too bad. My computer does not like these Google Hangouts, so it takes a while to get it logged on.
We don't know.
Is that a Microsoft issued computer?
Yes, it is. Maybe it's
Wow.
blocking it or something.
I've enjoyed these events, and I like the sort of the ability to connect with everyone, and we've done a few different ones. But yeah, Google Hangout is still a little testy, and I'm thinking of trying some other tools like Spreecast. I don't know if anyone's played with that, but I think that might be another good option. The big limitation there I've seen is, it's a limit of a host and 3 other people. So which would be fine right now, but then we would have 0 chance of getting Mariano, whereas now we still have hope that he can join us today. But well, let's get into some of the stuff here. We posted we're broadcasting this from our site. It's also being broadcast on YouTube right now, and I'm not sure if it's actually up on our Google Events page. I will try to get that up as well. but I know some people definitely this caught some people's attention, and folks had some questions. I think there have been some interesting current events that have been going on, in the last few months. So I'm glad to have you guys with us today. One of the things I thought I'd start with is sort of the where you guys feel GP 2013 is at, just to kind of get a sanity check on that from you. What are you seeing in terms of upgrades, in terms of getting folks trained on GP 2013? What's your sort of sense of the progress that's being made out in the field right now?
I think it's perfectly. We have a lot of people who are in the process of upgrading, and it's doing incredibly well. Not having any problems on it, so it's a good, smooth upgrade. We can't hear you, Mark.
Mark, you there?
I see his lips moving, but I don't hear anything. So I guess either Jared or Mark are allowed to speak, but not both of them.
Well, I guess while Mark's muted, I'll jump in. And I don't have, since I'm on the Microsoft development team, I don't have a lot of experience in upgrading customers to Dynamics GP 2013. But the experiences that I have had, for example, at Convergence, is I like to see all the excitement around the new features that are going into it. Now, there are a lot of new features. I think the product team counted out 125 different features, somewhere around there. The number shifts based on how you're counting, but it's a good number of features, and a lot of them they came from the product requests out on the Connect site. So these are the features that customers wanted to have. They were asking for them, and they were the ones that we got in. So a lot of excitement at Convergence and other customer conferences around the new features that did get into GP 2013.
Jared, I know there's even been accelerated progress on getting the web client ready. I don't know if that's anything that's in your purview, but in terms of sort of that and other things that are going to be sort of finalized before the technical airlift, is there anything else you can tell us about what maybe you're excited about completing or working on through the summer?
Yeah, for modules that are becoming available in the web client, they are moving faster than we expected them to. One of the areas that I have worked on, and I don't know if I would throw out specific modules that will be available. I don't want to make those announcements, but it's been fun seeing a lot of the modules that we had scheduled for Service Pack 4, Service Pack 5. Those are moving up to 2, 3, and 4. So we're getting through the testing on those faster than we thought we would, and it's fun to see that coming along really well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jared, there's a question about VBA and the web client. Any updates from you guys on that?
I saw that question. I don't think there's anything that I can announce. I think the question was around where it is on the roadmap. All I would say is that it's on the roadmap, and expect more information at the technical conference. There's more to come on that.
Okay. I'm not sure we knew it was on the roadmap, so that's good to know at least.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think it was on the roadmap, so that's exciting. You just made an announcement.
No.
Where will that be? Where will that be important from your perspectives, Mark and Belinda?
Well, there's a lot of times that you just need to make a small customization where you wouldn't want a full Dexterity application or a .NET application, and I've done a couple of, I think, in that for me as a user, and I've given them to my customers, and like one of them is when I'm keying in a bank transaction, I like for the description line to be the same as the pay to receive from line, so because that's what flows into the general ledger. And so I've just made a little VBA app that does that for me, and it saves a lot of time.
And there's a lot of people out there with VBA already that they would like to migrate forward and have available in the web client without having to rewrite it all.
Is this something that Dynamics GP professionals would bring to their clients in terms of let's do some VBA work, or is this something more that customers have VBA skills and they want to apply them to sort of scratching itches in the solutions?
It's both. It just depends on what the item was. If it was really small, a lot of times it's easy just to do a little VBA to fix whatever the issue is, or to deal with a small customization. It just kind of depends on the scenario.
All right.
And actually, I'm nervous now that Belinda says I just made an announcement. I should probably take that back, because and that's not an area that I work with closely with the Dex developers. So I know it's been a topic of discussion, but I can't say that it is on the roadmap. That's not something that I would announce or have close information on. So I know it's going to be a topic of conversation at Technical Airlift, but I don't think I would be able to say that it is on the roadmap as it will be delivered. So,
well, I would have to say,
going back on that a little bit,
just to make you feel a little bit better about that, any VBA that you build on the rich client would probably not transfer over to the web client, even if it was VBA enabled, because the screens are different. And so, even if they do add it in, it's not going to be something that happens automatically. I'll bail you out a little bit, Jared, on that one. So
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Mark, we had lost you there on the other sort of GP 2013 question, and one of the things I did want to get your input on was sort of on the training people on the new release side, because you had written recently and been thinking recently about training in general, and I was curious if you've been applying any of those concepts, trying to guide your clients on the newest release.
We're making progress. We've got lots of people who are upgrading. A little slow maybe on some of the 2010 folks, just because they're already on a pretty current release. But certainly lots of new folks and lots of folks coming off of 9 and 10 looking to go to 2013. I haven't done a ton of maybe really creative stuff on training yet for 2013. We're still kind of getting there.
All right. Linda, anything else you would add on that in terms of training?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a pretty easy. I mean, one, there's a lot of nice features. I mean, as Jared's mentioned, all those features, and I should point out most of them are all user interface things that'll just make your life easier, make your job easier, and not necessarily things that are hidden or wouldn't affect an individual user. And by that I mean like the multi-tenancy capability. It's great, but it's not going to affect the everyday user sitting at their desk, where some of the other features like, being able to select which printer you want after you click print, that one is going to affect the user. So there's a lot of really great features. So I do worry that, every time there's an upgrade, I worry about people who try to forego training and just start using the system, because they miss out on some great opportunities to make their jobs better and to make their roles better. But it's pretty easy and pretty cool. I know I attended a user group here in the city not long ago. We went over new features, and everyone in the room, the consensus was, I got to upgrade right away, because it just had all these new benefits and things. So, it's kind of nice. But yeah, I really didn't answer your question. I just rambled, but
no problem.
But that's the way I hang.
Let's get some other questions that were that people have submitted here, and actually we're getting quite a few, which is really cool to see.
Can we take one right away that I saw?
Yeah.
Someone asked, does one need to learn the report writer tool, and is it going to be replaced by a new tool? That's a great question.
Does anyone have an answer?
Were you going to answer that, Belinda?
Well, I don't think it's worth anybody's while to really learn it. I think if you need changes to the reports, I think on that you're probably better off just getting assistance from your partner or from from Microsoft, unless you are a partner, then of course I think you should learn it. I think if you're a user, you should spend more time developing your Excel skills and developing, and if you're going to learn a report writing tool, learn Report Builder with SQL Server. I think you're going to end up a lot better off in the long run. Need a cough drop there, Jared?
I might.
Yeah,
I do. I'll take one.
I'm sorry, but I'm with Belinda on this too. You know, with the 2013 release of being able to connect SSRS reports into Windows in GP, so that I'm launching them natively from inside of GP, and passing info on the customer I have open just so that I get a real specific report. You know, I think it's going to be a long, slow road, but report writers' days are eventually numbered here.
And I don't think there's a return on investment for users to learn it. I think it would be cheaper for users in the short run and the long run to pay their partners to make whatever modifications they need made to those reports and invest in something that they're going to be able to use long term.
And I would add, you can no longer be certified on it.
Yeah, from many versions ago.
So start investing in developing some SQL Server reporting service skills.
If you're gonna be a heavy duty report writer, otherwise invest in Excel and Excel skills.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about the three. I talked a lot with the three of you about you know, Excel skills. I think last time we talked, and I mean, have you seen any? You know, have you learned anything new about the state of things in the community right now, or with customers, with GP professionals about increased uptake or learning new approaches to how folks are building reports with Excel right now?
Just still ongoing demand. I mean, the demand gets stronger and stronger, and nothing dramatic, but the momentum is still really strong for Excel and Excel reports.
Yeah, I'm seeing an uptick in demand for Excel reports. We've been doing some lunch and learn things for clients who haven't been using it. So, I mean, you can show somebody how to use the thing in about 20 minutes. So it's perfect for that, and getting it deployed doesn't take very long either. Even the security piece doesn't take very long once people understand it. So we're definitely seeing good demand on the Excel side.
Yeah, actually, I was visiting a customer last week, and we were talking about getting information. One of the things that they pointed out was that Excel reports have been a lifesaver for them in a couple situations where they're trying to get quick, easy information to somebody, and they weren't able to get it until they figured out that they have these Excel reports there. That was a good way for them to use that report.
Jared, you bring up one element of it that I'm really interested in, which is the sort of the collaborative capabilities and what people should be doing with regard to taking report results and sharing them. What are you folks seeing customers doing, and what would you like to see them do in that regard? Oh, Jared, why don't you?
Well, in that situation, they were trying to get information to someone who wasn't a GP user, and it was just and that person was going to need to, once they got that information, needed the ability to slice and dice it, look at it in a different way, and create some charts and graphs off of it. And that's exactly what Excel is for. So it's looking at that, and that was the last discussion that we had, is doing exactly that. So they had just recently found these reports, and we're pretty excited about it.
I'd like to see some more customers deploying the reports in SharePoint. I'm not seeing enough of that. So I'd like to see a little bit more of that, but yeah, the people who use Excel just love it. Absolutely love it. Mostly it's because they're comfortable in it, so they're not intimidated, and anytime they learn one new thing, then they're really excited about it, and they're not afraid to learn it, so and reality is it's like mega powerful, so that's a technical term, by the way, mega powerful. A couple weeks ago I was in Fargo and I was talking with Jay Manley, and he was telling me that on a recent survey, a lot of GP users were saying that they didn't have business intelligence in GP, and native in GP. And, I think the first thing I said to Jay was, it's like, well, then we partners are not doing a great job then in showing them everything that's there, because it's, wow, there's a lot there. So, so I'd like to see more partners pushing Excel, and particularly Excel and SharePoint.
Would you like to see Microsoft putting more sort of best case, sort of ideal use cases out there, showing how they could be combined, sort of evangelizing it a little more?
Yeah.
Or is it really more the job of the partners to take it out there and do it?
You start, Mark.
I think I want more standardization. In other words, if you look at some of the kind of cloud-based products out there, they show you this is our BI dashboard. Microsoft shows you 30 BI dashboards, or all the different ways you can reconfigure your home screen in GP. I'd kind of like to see them take one and say, this is the standard that we're going to make available to everybody. You can modify it if you want, but this is kind of the out of the box. So you get a consistent look, and everybody gets used to seeing the same set of data as a starting point, at least.
Mm.
Well, one of my soapboxes is about BI itself. That BI is not a dashboard. It's not a report. It's not anything like that. It's being able to make decisions in a timely and a fashion with accurate and timely information available to you. And so it's more of a process. And so, it's there. And I think that may be the misconception, is they might look at other products and they've got this fixed thing where GP has all these incredible options, because everybody wants to look at something different. And because there's so many options, people are stymied about what they need. I mean, Mark and I talked about this before, that you walk up to a customer and they're saying, I want BI, and we're like, okay, what do you need to see? And they're like, I don't know, I need BI. And it's like, well, you gotta break it down. You gotta, and it's very difficult for people to start. Business Analyzer is a great way to start if they don't know where to start. But still, there's
with the ability to develop SSRS reports and sort of
it gives you some
inject them into Business Analyzer.
Well, it gives you some starting points. So if you don't know what you want to see, just start with those. I guarantee you, after you use them for a week or two, you're going to know more about what you need to see. And you haven't invested anything at that point except the time to look at the reports.
Right. I think there's something of a Happy Meal problem here, in that there's this giant menu of BI options. But if you walk into McDonald's, the vast majority of the people are going to pick meal 1, 2, or 3. And I don't know that we have a great 1, 2, or 3 to offer folks as a starting point. We know we don't want them to stay there, but to say, kind of, here's one way to do BI that an awful lot of companies do. Why don't you start here?
Right.
Yeah.
I guess back to your original question about would you like to see Microsoft put out more kind of standard dashboards, and that's something that we've talked about in the past and considered. The ones that we put a couple out on the web just as ideas, and we put those out more as a opening up your mind to what's available in Excel. I think a lot of people look at Excel and the Excel reports that we put out there and just see tables of information and aren't really open to the idea of what you can do with it once you have it in Excel. So we were just trying to throw it out there and show, this is what you can do. Here's a possibility. Now use some of the tools in Excel and do something similar to fit what you need. So that was kind of the purpose of throwing that out there.
And I think Belinda and I are both big fans of that. We like the kind of the base dashboard that you guys have put out. We just want we want more, and we want it easier. I mean, as easy as possible.
Mm-hmm.
What I kind of imagine that I maybe these people are in Microsoft, and I don't necessarily see them as folks who are sort of looking across maybe the higher level, that looking at GP, looking at Excel and SharePoint, and saying what are the stories that we should be showing about how businesses can specifically use the technologies together, like to Belinda's point of using SharePoint more effectively, or in some standard ways or basic ways, and sort of not dictating it, but demonstrating that as a vision, or as a kind of, here's where you go to get started, using multiple Microsoft technologies that include GP. That's what I'm always kind of looking for, and obviously easier said than done, but.
Well, one of the things that caused me to hesitate, and at the risk of announcing this prematurely, but I am in the process right now of writing a book that does that specifically, that talks about real-life examples from my customers and how we created BI using native Microsoft technology to solve their problem. So it goes through the problem and then the process of building it,
Mm-hmm.
and using a couple different technologies, and goes through the whole solution.
Excellent. What are some of the technologies that you find yourself coming back to, other than beyond GP?
Well, mostly they're being built in Excel and then SQL Report Builder.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that we're using the most. Yeah.
How's it going so far? Do you have a planned release date, or is it still early days?
It's still kind of early. A couple chapters have been done, but I don't have a release date yet.
All right. Well, we'll have to check back
Mark's
with you on
my
that.
book mentor, so
Convergence 2014, she'll be ready.
yeah, it should be released for sure by Convergence 2014. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, if not sooner, but it'll definitely be out by then. So.
Excellent. I'm looking at. I thought maybe try to tackle a couple of the other questions that have come in, and I'm going to try to keep refreshing in case I missed any here. But let's see here. So, report writer, we talked about. GP on Azure is obviously kind of a newsworthy kind of thing, just because of the announcement this past week, or last week. I'm just kind of browsing the question, but maybe for Mark or Belinda specifically, did you have any initial reaction to knowing that it has become a public option now, of hosting customers on Azure, either for your businesses or for customers who are just interested in it? Do you have any sort of feedback yet?
No feedback yet. We've been toying with it within our own company for a couple months. So we kind of felt it would be, it was, that wasn't a. I mean, we I guess I don't have anything specific, except it's something we've been playing around with within our own organization, thinking maybe we would end up eventually hosting our own and seeing how that goes. Haven't got there yet, but.
Yeah,
Mark?
I think my thoughts were, one, I'm glad that it's finally here, because I'm kind of tired of hearing that it's coming. So it's kind of nice to know that it's here and I don't have to listen to that piece. We've been playing with it. I haven't been playing with it specifically, so I don't have a whole lot there, but I've kind of got this argument in my head that as we move GP to the cloud, whether that's on Azure or whether it's hosted somewhere, that I don't think it changes the value of a GP functional consultant. If anything, I think we're going to need more functional consultants, because kind of the technical side is getting handled by somebody. The backups and upgrades and those kinds of things are really being handled at the hosting side. You don't need quite as many technical consultants. What you need are more functional consultants to keep people from screwing up their inventory or making a mess of their receivables, those kinds of things. I don't think that's going to change regardless of where the software gets hosted.
And that, extending that comment, and back to our last conversation about BI, the functional consultant, and there's a lot of need for functional consultants in terms of helping people determine what they need to see and why it's important. You know, why is it important to compare your AR, to look at your AR turnover, for example? Why is it important to look at your AP turnover, and why is it important to look at those two against each other? And so that kind of role is definitely going to change. So yeah, I'm frankly I'm happy not to do backups anymore.
I talked to an NAV reseller who is one of the early adopters, I guess you'd say, of hosting NAV in the cloud in Azure, and I came away with kind of two impressions. It's really about how they're the most impact there is really how their businesses are going to change to, if they just, because they've decided they're going to make it a major piece of their business, and that's really in their staffing to have folks who can support the sort of some of those hosting responsibilities, not obviously the servers themselves, but kind of all the work that they're responsible for in keeping those servers going that maybe a hosting provider might have had. And also, I think figuring out sort of pricing and the value that they sort of working with their clients to sort of explain why there's value in this, as opposed to considering hosting on their own or working with a hosting partner. And some of those dynamics, I think, are really where there's going to be some impact. And I think also, depending on how many companies take it on, how many partners really say, yeah, we want to be a part of this, and how that might open up the hosting options, or the image of hosting, how customers see it, is I think what still really remains to be seen, since it is so early. But Melinda, what you're saying makes sense in terms of, and Mark, that the other questions, the other challenges of implementing ERP don't really go away or change.
Well, I think there's plenty of places where hosting fits. Folks who are moving to GP and want to get up quickly, or maybe they're coming off of QuickBooks, so you want as simple a conversion as possible. I think it's fantastic for that. I don't think you're going to see companies throwing out the servers they have in the basement just to go host it if they're already on GP.
Right.
I just don't know that it makes sense for them unless there's something compelling that they can't get otherwise. So I think it's going to be a long, slow move on the hosted side. I wouldn't expect to see a stampede there next week.
No pun intended.
Yes.
To the extent, I mean, on the NAV side, I know that the partner I was talking to he was really impressed with how fast. I guess that was the other aspect, was the sort of the pre-sales and the the speed and efficiency aspect of it. They can get instances stood up so fast now that
Sure.
And convince prospects to stand up a conference or pilot so fast, and be able to leave it with them and know that it was set up efficiently and properly, and I guess kind of help get them in on the short list for deals, where in the past they might have had to labor a little more. And I would think for GPs, a lot of the same benefits will be there. I don't know specifically. I haven't sort of had enough of those conversations myself. But there was actually a question. There are currently performance issues. Oh well, that was more of an Azure. That was more of a web client question. So maybe we'll skip that for a time when we can get Mariano back here, since I know we spent a little more time on it. Unless anyone wants to take that kind of a performance of the web client kind of questions. Does anyone have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I'm not tackling that right now.
All right. Another topic that, going back to kind of things that I've been seeing in the last couple of months. One is the airlift that's coming up. It sounds like there's going to be some interesting news announced there. Are any of you going to be at the airlift? Or are any of you have particular things you're excited about learning there or talking about there?
Yeah, I'm going to be at the airlift. I'm doing 2 presentations, and then myself, and then one combined with Leslie Vale. With Leslie Vale, we're going to be doing the support debugging tool, which I think is completely misnamed. I suggested that it be called Support and Debugging Tool because it sounds like it's just for a developmental tool, but it does a lot of other cool things. And then since Mark won't be there, I'm going to do the Excel presentation. It's been requested that I do advanced Excel features, so maybe I'll teach Jared a thing or two there. And and then
Jared's like, you'll teach me nothing.
That's right. I hope he's in the audience so I can, if I run across something, I can ask the expert. And then I'll be talking about native BI, using native tools from GP for BI. So I'm excited about all of those topics.
Excellent. Jay Manley was, I talked to him a little while back because he's organizing it, and he said there will be some big news. You would not tell me what it was. Will you tell me what it was? Does anyone else? Can anyone else confirm any cool stuff to be announced, even if you can't say what it is? No.
No. I have a conflict, so I'm not going to be there. But I agree with Belinda. The support debugging tool should be renamed. I think I suggested something with "sexy" in the name, so we could really attract people to it. But that got shot down along the way.
Ah, I can't believe that.
You just like saying sex.
I do, because nobody else in the ERP world will say
Jared walked
it,
away.
Oh, he's gone. That triggered something in the Fargo network monitoring that we lost him.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything specific announcement-wise. I'm always excited. I always learn a lot, so I'm excited about learning a lot. But I haven't heard anything specific.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting to hear that it is going to be one of sort of the major points in the year now, where the GP team wants to do new announcements. So I think that'll make it a little more orderly for everyone because they kind of just sort of, I guess, they feel like they've been sort of not leaking out, but just sort of giving out information throughout the year, and it's hard for them to manage. So that will be a time, I'm told, where there will be news and things that have been held back or sort of saved until that time. So definitely an interesting event to be at this year. We have a couple of.
Will you be there, Jason?
I don't believe I will be there. Although I would never say never, but I don't believe I'll be there. Getting to Fargo is hard. I actually looked into it recently, just out of curiosity, and it's not an easy place to travel to.
No, you gotta want to go.
That's right.
It's very nice, though. I do like Fargo.
I wanted to bring out a couple of questions that have come in on our site. So one is, do you guys have a recommendation for a book for learning VBA for GP?
Leslie Vale's Developing has an entire section on VBA in it.
All right, excellent.
So developing, I think it's called Developing for Dynamics GP from Pact Publishing, Leslie Vale. I know she covers it in there. And then beyond that, you just need a good VBA book. Because that'll give you the GP connection pieces. And after that, you just need to know VBA.
Yeah, VBA is not that hard to learn. The first VBA application I did, I got an example from Partner Source and built my own, and then took a class to find out what I did. Which is not the way to do it, but yeah, you could do it.
Yeah,
if any language is going to lend itself to that. VBA.
Yeah, get good at Google or Bing too. An awful lot of VBA is reusing someone else's code.
Here's a question. Hey, Jared, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Apparently, 25 minutes of battery life doesn't go as far as it used to.
Oh.
I had to sprint out and get a power cord. Sorry about that.
Will 2013 Service Pack 2 allow us to link financial statements in Management Reporter so that they do not need to be printed one by one? Please. My emphasis on the please, but does anyone have any insight on that?
Well, that wouldn't have anything to do with the GP service pack. That would be the management reporter service pack. So that would be this daisy chaining. I don't know. If you skip on, I'll see if I can find the answer to that.
Sure. I have a question, and this one I'm not sure anyone on the call will really be able to answer. But is there an option for VARs to set up free Azure sites for installing SQL, GP, SharePoint to get the experience? Something I think we'll certainly find out more about at WPC next week. I don't know if any of you are going to be there, but I would certainly expect there to be some announcements about how partners can get up to speed on that.
I've seen a bunch of discussions around that, but I don't have an answer. I mean, I know that partners have brought it up to Microsoft.
Yeah.
But I don't have an answer yet.
Yeah, like my sense talking to Kenneth from Abakian, who's they're an NAV reseller in Denmark, and I know, they pay for their Azure time and their Azure resources when they do a demo or a conference and pilot, but they're not. I don't think they're paying anything for installing the NAV and the SQL Server aspect of it. So it sounds like there may be some options afforded by Microsoft for standing up kind of demos like that in Azure. But since the cloud team is totally separate from the Dynamics Microsoft Business Solutions team, I don't think there's any agreement there to just give partners free computing resources. That's all I can guess at this point. Like I said, WPC next week will be a good place to learn more about that. Anything else you guys are interested to learn coming out with WPC coming up? It doesn't sound like any of you are going to be there, but any news you're interested in learning? Either about partners or about the product? No?
No, I don't think so.
I have to admit, I wasn't thinking too much about GP. I'm going to be there, but GP wasn't my main thought for it, just because of what Jay has said about really saving up announcements for the technical airlift. I think that's where it's at. That's where it's at for GP.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the technical airlift is going to be a fun conference. And I'm not sure of all the announcements that are going to be made, but just in general, those conferences are fun when you get the professionals together that are talking about GP and the various aspects that are coming together with it, and being able to learn all about different technologies related to it. I've looked down the list of presentations that are coming up, and it looks pretty exciting. And
I hear the whole GP R&D group is sort of gearing up to make themselves available to the attendees this year.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. Sounds like fun.
Jay promised it. He promised it.
If Jay promised it, let it be written.
Something to those words, I guess.
Jay would never lie.
I have to go back and look at my notes.
Jay would never lie.
Jason could never misinterpret what Jay said.
I have perfect memory. The only other thing I really wanted, I was kind of looking back at sort of what I've been covering recently, and I guess two sort of business areas of interest. One was e-commerce seems to really just be getting a lot of attention right now in terms of integrating e-commerce, and the other one is what is it here? Oh, sort of supplier networks. So I'm kind of curious in terms of supplier networks and e-commerce. Are any of you sort of seeing anything about those right now that is interesting to you?
Well, we've been doing lately a fair amount of work with some e-commerce stuff, but I haven't seen anything new and exciting that is report worthy. We're just not very energetic today. It's what happens on a hot July day in the middle of, or in the July 4th weekend, right?
Yeah, it seems like demand is up. I mean, it seems like I'm getting more requests for EDI, more requests for kind of generic e-commerce things, like people who want to let their customers pay their bills online or see their receivables online. Still lots and lots of demand for document management all the way around too. Not a ton of supplier networks at the moment, but e-commerce, EDI, document management, lots of that.
When you say document management, are you talking about like being able to attach documents like we do with DocAttach? And is DocAttach fulfilling that?
That's what I mean, and DocAttach is not fulfilling that.
Okay.
The vast majority of the requests. So I understand, and I've given people the answer. DocAttach really looks like it was designed for documents that you ultimately want to go out to your customers, because that's where you start out to someone, because you started with purchase order, sales order, and the ability to send those documents out. The demand really starts with AP, though. People wanting to digitize their bills more than any other single thing and attach that to an AP transaction for approval. That's really where it starts. So we're getting a fair amount of questions around DocAttach and sending stuff out. We've used that for some other things, but most of the time it's QuickTag or Metafile or somebody like that. They're drowning in paper for AP and they're just trying to get their arms around it.
Mm-hmm. So you're finding that what they can't get with DocAttach, they're able to find a VAR that has a product they can add on that takes care of it for them?
Yep.
Okay.
I agree with Mark on that. Yeah, the bigger majority seems to be from the AP side, document imaging from the AP side, and I do have some from the sales side, but mostly it is on the AP side, the majority.
What about with invoice management? Do you sort of lump that in, or?
Invoice management from the payable side or the receivable side?
From the payable side.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's the bigger part of it. Less so purchase order information and more the invoice when it comes in from the vendor, as opposed to filing it in a filing cabinet. They want to make a digital copy and have it stored someplace for quick access and save on filing time. So it has to save more time to get it out there and get it attached than it takes to file it.
Yeah, well, and file it and find it again for the audit and all of those other, or when someone has a question, all of those kinds of things. The actual sending out an invoice to customers, document attach seems to work pretty well. The big push is still on that. What do I do with this invoice that has hit my desk for AP? Because if I send it out to someone for approval, I might never get it back. So we see people making copies of an invoice to go put it on somebody's desk for approval so they don't lose the original. And then you're really doing double the work at that stage.
And then invoices get lost because a lot of companies will have it go directly to the person who needs to approve it, and AP never knows about it, and then are getting paid late or just gets lost altogether. And those are the kinds of issues that, with document imaging, it makes life a lot easier for everybody.
So a quick question on the going through for approval. Is that an area where, kind of talking a little bit about workflow,
right?
That's one of the topics that we're trying to get our heads around for improvements for next for upcoming releases of GP is around that workflow area. Is there something that workflow could do to facilitate that approval process with the paper document much more easily? How do you see that working? If
the document was attached, I mean, workflow could handle it now, like approve this so I can pay it and deal with that. But sorry, New York City, a little bit of siren out there.
Are they coming for you, Belinda?
No, not yet. I can't get on the phone ever without a siren going by. There's a fire station close by. Anyhow, workflow. Yeah, so for the approval process, more often than not, the person who's doing the approval wants to see the document. So there's the matter of, if workflow could have the doc attached, could attach the invoice, and the invoice could attach to it, that would handle the job. Of course, it would also eliminate the need for a lot of ISVs that are already out there and in the market, but that's what people are wanting. At least that's what I'm seeing. Would you agree on that, Mark?
Yeah, and the workflow's got to be, it's got to be a weird mix of easy to set up and robust enough to deal with, well, when this person's on vacation, what do we do with the workflow on this thing? But even a basic one where you were able to say, these are the approvers, and it was easy to set up. And then if you left the higher end stuff to the ISV solutions, I think, even that would be a start. Because then we could have the conversation of this is what you get out of the box. And if that's not sufficient, then these are your other options.
Okay, so you'd be happy with something just kind of simple, standard, robust, out of the box with not a whole ton of add-on functionality, and and then take the VARs and allow them to add on to that for additional functionality.
Yeah.
That sets up with a wand, so that they don't have to do anything.
Okay. So what are the well, yeah, I guarantee it will come out like that. Magical installment.
Because honestly, even today, if you just want doc attach functionality, GP will do it, but it's painful. If you just want to attach a document to an invoice, you can do it. You can use the old paperclip and work your way through, I don't know, 5 levels of menus or something to attach something to an invoice and hope that someone doesn't break the connections down the road, but it can be done.
Right.
Even just the straight doc attach functionality would be a start of this invoice is already approved, now I can attach it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Are there other workflow scenarios that you see that are missing in our current workflow? Are there the common demands that these are the approval processes that we need and we don't have? Some more control, system control over those workflow areas?
I don't have a ton of people who use GP workflow. For better or for worse, I just don't.
I don't either, but I'm seeing more ask for it. So we're
and that's kind of the question is, are there scenarios where they say, we need more control around this approval process. Where is the system to do that? And just trying to generate some ideas. I like the doc attach idea. Working on something like that would be a nice add.
Interesting.
But if you do think of anything, if you think of any of those workflow, we need more control around this XYZ approval process, let me know. I'd be happy
1-800-JARED.
Yes. Or jaredha at Microsoft.com. I'll throw my email out there.
Hey, Jared, one request I get a lot, and we had a guy write a customization around it, but it's pretty painful to write, and it's got some limitations. We have quite a few people who are either publicly traded or audited, but they have pretty small accounting staffs, and they want a rule that says a user can't post their own batch. Or a user can't post their own transactions.
Okay.
And so I don't want to give you necessarily a whole lot more guidance than that, other than it would be great if there was a way to prevent a user from posting their own transaction, and then I'll let you figure out, kind of what that means in terms of what you would have to do in the system to enforce something like that.
So they're not saying they want a user to enter the batch, have someone else approve it, and then they can come back and post it. They're saying, I enter it, somebody else has to post it.
Yes.
Okay.
Because in a lot of cases, there's 2 people in a department, and their rule is they don't want the same person who entered it to be the person who's posting it. So they're switching on and off. I'm posting yours, you're reviewing and posting mine. But there's really nothing to enforce that system-wise.
And usually in that situation, they want to be able to track both users, the user who entered and the user who posted for audit control purposes.
So they're just using that as a
Is that what you're
method
seeing, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, we've found some folks who can fake it, because if you turn on batch approval, you at least then know who approved the batch from a posting standpoint. There's not a rule to control it. You're kind of controlling it after the fact by looking at what people did. But there are places in the system where there is no batch approval. I want to say it's receiving transactions. There's no batch approval on those. And then there are transactions, of course, bank rec, quick journals. There are other things that don't even have batches that you bump into that. So I'm not suggesting that it's easy. I know in terms of a customization, we basically said you can't do these certain things. You can't. We've had to turn off transaction posting, for example, to really enforce that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not suggesting that it's easy. I just want you to think about it.
Yeah, that is something that you could do with workflow. Just because workflow prevents you from posting, and in the
We'll never know.
Conditions where you say
Join
user
us
A
next week
is entering
for
the batch, they click sub.
Sorry.
We lost you there for a second.
We lost you for a second. Start over again. This is something you could do in workflow.
Yes, sorry about that. Workflow. I mean, even the current workflow system that we have can handle that scenario, because if user A enters the batch and clicks submit, they're not allowed to post that batch until it gets approved. So if you just set up your conditions to say, if user A enters it, then user B must approve, and if user B enters it, then user A must approve, then their batches get sent to the other person automatically when they submit it. So it is a scenario. Obviously, our current workflow system takes quite a bit of setup. So that's one of the reasons that it doesn't get a lot of use, and you're saying you don't have a lot of customers that use it. So there is some overhead there, but it is something that we have functionality to be able to handle that scenario.
Okay.
So if they're really desperate, otherwise they can wait for down the road when we're able to work out some of the kinks in the workflow system and get something a little bit more robust for them. Easy to deploy.
Hey guys, we're about at the top of the hour here. There's a question about, I don't know if anyone can answer this, sort of future plans for the GP platform. Jared, do you want to maybe give a expository explanation? what's in the next major release, or no?
Yeah, I see the question. It says, what are the future plans for developing the GP platform? Well, as far as developing the platform, I think most of those announcements will come at the technical airlift. I think I'm throwing out that disclaimer. But as far as features, we're continuing to develop. And I think, and hidden in that question is always that I think you posted an article about how there's the rumor that it seems to be ongoing. It's been ongoing for a decade that GP is going away. And no, there are future plans for.
I did not author that article, though. I didn't print it.
Yeah, but there are plans for it. There's core features. There are technological features for improving the platform, as well as the core features. So we're just continuing to move along with it. It's going to be around for a long time. So I don't have any specific details for you. So.
Well, maybe we end it there. Unless did anyone else have anything else they wanted to bring up before we start closing out here? We've had you on the line for over an hour, and I really appreciate all three of you taking the time.
Yep.
We will. So we'll end it there. Thanks again. Thanks for the great questions to everyone who's on the line. I know we had a lot more folks sort of viewing this live today than we have in past events, and that's great to see. We'll keep looking for ways to make it easy to join these kind of live discussions, because they are fun and also informative.
They're a lot of fun to do on this end too, so we appreciate it, Jason.
Yeah, they are. You're doing all the work, so it's nice and easy. So.
Excellent. Well,
and for that question,
for
that question on MR, on those reports being daisy chained, I'm going to reply with a blog post from Christina Phillips, where she talks about how you can do something similar to try to achieve the same results. So they'll have an answer.
And just anyone who is listening, if you have ideas or things you want us to talk about in the future, feel free to send a tweet toward us, or go to my author profile on the site, which can get you from the page where this is broadcasting. You can contact me through that. jgumpert@msdynamicsworld.com. We're definitely interested to hear what other topics you'd like us to talk about, and folks with different expertise that you'd like us to bring in to discuss some of these things. So, until next time, we will close it out there. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Jason.
Thanks.